Previously on The Scene.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. You ain't down. And you ain't a loser. You're just a jealous, lazy bum. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind marrying me very much. Mind marrying me very much. Mind marrying me very much. If I could change, and you could change, everybody could change. Everybody could change. Change. Everybody could change.
If you slurp your coffee like that in many countries, it's a show of respect. Like you're really enjoying the coffee, like belching after a meal. It's okay, kids. You're allowed to do that. It's Dave Lennon for Shaw Television's island-wide arts and entertainment program, The Scene. Channel 4, Thursdays, Fridays, Facebook.com/TheSceneTV. We'll keep reminding you of those vital details. It's a good show. It's a good show today. Kicking it off with a visit from a band called Blue Cadillac, veteran group of blues players in Victoria. The cool thing is these guys actually drive around in this blue Cadillac limousine. We caught up with them at the upper deck on the Gorge. Oh my God, look, it's the Blue Cadillac band. Hey, get out here, woo! This is the paparazzi moment, gentlemen. This is it. This was it. When I saw you in there, I thought you were four good-looking guys, and now I know you are. Come on in. Come on in, Blue Cadillac. So who is Blue Cadillac? Why don't you take care of the introductions?
All right. Fraser Curley, guitar. Gavin Dixon. Hardly ridiculous to even introduce this guy. Everybody knows Gavin. Jeff Peterson on drums, and Frank Alexander on vocals. Gavin, of course, is bass.
You guys are seasoned professionals. Not to suggest you're of any certain vintage, but you guys have all played in town for a long time with a lot of different bands, right?
Yep.
And out of town, too.
And out of town, of course. The blues scene has always been strong in Victoria. There's always been good support for it. Has it changed? Is it better? Is it always maintained a consistency?
Frank and I played in Joe Blues 15, 17 years ago, and it was totally happening. The Blues Club was on. We actually got interviewed by you at that time.
The old Blues Club, eh?
6 Mile. And then it took a big dip, and now I think it's growing again.
What makes good blues music? Because the blues is, there are certain standards and certain riffs, and it's always as music, it's always so identifiable. What's going to set a band like Blue Cadillac apart from the riffraff of the blues?
It's the kind of blues we play. We don't play necessarily the standard traditional type blues. We play, it's rhythm and blues, jump blues, soul.
More obscure.
Yeah, it's more obscure
tunes
stuff.
That, most people, we even get asked, is that your own?
Yeah. Because you just don't hear bands playing what we play.
Well, baby went out and stayed out all night long. Yeah, baby went out and stayed out all night long. She told me her life was better way back home. And she was jumping from 6 to 6. 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 She got herself in a heck of a bit. Call me up about 12:25. Hey, 10 minutes later, the boyfriend called. Come on, baby, let's have a ball. Jumping from 66. 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 She got herself in a heck of a fix, yeah.
Wow. Sorry. Jake, aka Smoky Mirror, is a socially conscious and very earnest poet and hip-hop MC, currently Saanich based. He's put out a CD, Moving Mirrors. Yeah, it's good too, really good. He used to be part of that Comox Valley crew, Ancient Principles. Maybe you remember him. He's from, his pizza at Brickyard, so good. From Denman Island originally. Anyway, his name is kind of an analogy for life. Smoky Mirror.
I mean, the biggest thing with my music is like the riddle of life. And it's like the meaning of it. Smoky is like the wall in your mind from blocking you from seeing the true light, which is like the love in everything alive, which is like spirit, which is the mirror, which will reflect. But the thing in life is there's so many advertisements and things we see on TV and so many things out there that kind of block us. And create that smoky screen so we can't see the true light in life.
You've got this wonderful flavor of conscience, which you've just explained. It comes through in your music. Maybe that's not even the right word to explain it. You're a bit of an environmentalist. You're a humanist. And yet, when you think of hip-hop, when you think of rap, it's often so misogynist and so pigeonholed as something negative or violent.
Yeah.
How do you maintain some sort of credential without becoming that?
I'll tell you, mostly it's like collaborating with people and making friends. Like I grew up on Denman. I went back there and I connected with some people on Hornby Island. My friend Tobes is from Hornby, grew up there, and Silas Crow over there. And then I went to Courtney there, and I was part of this hip-hop movement. Sort of, we did a show every month for a year straight. It was called Ancient Principles. And I just connected with as many people as I could. I always keep an open heart for people. I try to support younger kids, and I try to connect with as many people as I can and collaborate and have as many connections as possible.
Yeah, nobody's going to pigeonhole you then. Nobody's going to say he's like this or he's like that. I couldn't help noticing on your wall you've got this sort of map of your career made up.
Yeah.
Almost a flow chart of what's going to happen and what's happening now. And we talked off camera about managing the business side of the business, and that's tough. So you got to stay on top of that too.
Yeah, for sure. I started reading some books, and they really taught me like power of intent and believing in what you want in life and keeping that in your mind and focusing on it. And the moment you have any doubt and you can't do it, that just becomes an obstacle for you. So if you wake up every day, you put a list, you make a goal, a roadmap like that, and you just always believe that you're going to get there, then it becomes that much stronger. And the power of your mind, the power of your heart, the power of the universe, and everything together comes towards that like an arrow's head, just shoot you right towards your goal. How we get it done with the scene? You know, we're supporting people around Victoria, all the musicians, all the different artists, trying our hardest to let the art and the culture grow in a new way so that people want to take part more at the shows and the musicians.
Now, you completed cutlass walking. You enjoy cutlass walking. Now, you cutlass walking pro.
What do you got there? What do you got?
It's really good.
You're saying it will do.
It's bolognese. It's good bolognese.
Bolognese.
I know bolognese.
What are you, Italian?
And Portuguese, same thing.
The Portuguese say bolognese?
It's a bolognese.
Looks good, but I'm going to eat this. What do we got? An acre of pizza here left at the Brickyard. What's the metric for that? Cubit.
Yards?
Yards. No. Is there a metric for volume, space? Like
I don't teach math. What are you asking?
diameter? Circumference? I don't know. Anyway, continuing on though, we're going to go to the scenes. Nanaimo Bureau Kelly Robinson reporting. Damaris Oakley is a glass artist working in Nanaimo. Her studio is called Red Room Glass Art, and she's creating these intricate, tiny, beautiful, wearable pieces of art. When we come back, we'll have finished this, right?
Bolognese. You're gonna have some of this. I tell you, it's gonna be some.
We're here at Red Room Art Glass Studio with Damaris Oakley, and you're a glass artist, and she's making some beads. It's a very tedious work. It's very small. Tell me a little bit about the process, what you're working on now.
I'm working on a simple bead, and I'm working on a mandrel, and I'm using warm glass, and I'm heating the glass up, and I'm melting it and rolling it onto my mandrel.
So how long does this process take?
So I can make a bead fairly quickly. I usually sit down and make beads all day.
And it's not just beads, you have beautiful pendants and amazing detail on these pendants. And of course you were saying it's the stringers that you use that you can get the detail
that I get
with?
the design, yes. And the stringers are made from the actual glass. And here's some examples. So that bead was made out of this glass, and this is what the rod looked like before I started to make the bead. And this is a piece of stringer. And this is what I've applied to the bead to make the design.
It's not just glass that you're working with, Damaris, you're working with silver. Can you tell us a little bit about how you incorporate that into your work?
Yes, I use silver mainly as the second component, and the silver is what holds everything together. So I essentially wire wrap my beads with the silver in order to put them together into a necklace. And a good example of that is the necklaces that I have on the table here, and they're all wire wrapped with silver wire. Another example is the cuff bracelets I make. This is a cuff bracelet that I've made. It's out of sterling silver, and this is the finished product, and I use my beads and wire wrap them directly onto the cuff bracelet.
It's beautiful work, and I've seen, you said you started with the stained glass, and I can see some of your work over there. But what is it? This is very tedious and very detailed. What is it about this work?
I think bead making offers a new experience every time I sit down to make a bead.
Really? Why is that? Is it you just don't know how it's going to turn out, or is it?
You can control the rate of how you melt it on your torch and the colors you add, but you don't quite know what you're going to get when it comes out of the kiln. And that's why it's so exciting for me every time I sit down and make a bead.
It's absolutely beautiful, and you distribute your work at art shows across Vancouver Island, Western Canada. Can you tell me about that experience of being able to work directly with the people buying your art?
I think getting out and selling my art myself, people enjoy it more. People make an association with the artist who made it and what they're buying. And making that everlasting association is what's so important when someone buys art, because it's so personal.
Well, I've really enjoyed meeting you today, and thank you so much for showing us your studio and having us here explaining a little bit more about what goes into glass art bead making. And you can find more about Damaris online. You can find her at the shows. Like I say, thanks again so much for having us here.
Thanks for having me.
Are you gonna eat that? No.
Are you Samuel James Witwicky, descendant of Archibald Witwicky? My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. But you can call us Autobots for short.
Autobots. What's cracking, little bitches?
My first lieutenant. Designation Jazz.
This looks like a
Chaz Leckie, our man in Courtney with The Scene, brings us this close-up and intimate look at the Black and White Trio based in the Comox Valley. And this piece was shot at Studio Live in Cumberland. Hey, we've got it all covered there. Courtney, Cumberland, Comox Valley. I like that. Black and White Trio, pretty amazing guys, jazz guys. Miles Black on piano, Scott White on bass, and drummer Roger Baird. Now Roger talks about telepathy and the language of jazz. I guess you'd call it a conversation of improvisation.
When things are really, really happening, time stands still.
We met with Roger Baird, leader and drummer of the Black and White Trio at Studio Live, here in Cumberland. We asked him if he could define the nature of jazz and the experience of playing it.
I think jazz attracts obviously a very certain kind of person. I mean, obviously nobody gets into jazz because they think they're going to be famous, or they're content to limit their vocabulary to 3 chords in a tune. I mean, the whole thing is a challenge. It's a challenge harmonically, melodically, and rhythmically. And no matter what instrument you play, it requires dedication and a lot of discipline to get there. So those are the kind of people that jazz attracts.
Like Miles Black on piano and Scott White on bass. Hence the name, Black and White Trio.
You know, both Miles and Scott are such a treat to play with, and they're both amazing musicians, and I feel very, very fortunate to have been able to put this together and share the musical stage with musicians of this caliber. You find people that you resonate with musically, and I think the telepathic element is usually very strong with those people. They say that successful business people are usually much more intuitive than unsuccessful business people. I think the same applies to musicians. And you'll often hear musicians say that, you know, about somebody else's playing, that they seem to know where they're going. They seem to know where the other guy is going before he even goes there. And that, yeah, that's telepathic. It's that kind of synchronicity. You know, and maybe it's the language, because the language is something you develop over the years. And it's like having a conversation with somebody. I mean, a certain amount of it is intuition, but a certain amount of it is also obviously what you've built up in your vocabulary over the years. And when you're actually in improvised music, you're carrying on a conversation. Often everybody's talking at the same time, something like a family, you know, where everybody's at the dinner table and they're all yakking. And a stranger might go, what the hell's going on here? I mean, who can understand what's happening? But within the family, they basically know what's up. I think that kind of communication is very special. I don't think that, you know, everybody's got it, but I think that the great groups that you've heard recordings of, you know, Coltrane comes to mind, the quartet, you know, had that kind of connection, and it's a spiritual connection, really, because everybody's operating at their highest level, and they're connected to everybody else that's on that stage or in that recording studio. It's an art that can never be perfected, and that doesn't mean that it's without satisfaction, because as they say, it's the journey. It's not arriving, and that's very much the case in jazz, because it's a journey, and it's a journey that could last lifetimes, because you're never going to get it all in one life.
From Studio Live in Cumberland, I'm Chaz Leckie.
Victoria Poet Laureate Janet Rogers provides the words and the voice. The scene's Dan Kahn provides the images. Maybe this is the way poetry should be experienced, right here on The Scene.
This was dreamed into being. The light, the lines, sounds and vibes. I follow roads that bend like E strings, used to play the blues, and suddenly I understand all the lyrics. following audio slaves into towns through cities, dressed and arrested for pleasure and pity. Sound slaves gather in freedom festivals, celebrations of disconnection. I'm passing, I'm pausing to pick up clues, I'm hungry to stop and stay. There's no way, no reason rich enough to lure me from the road. I go and keep going, rolling past lovely, fanciful fields. This trip gives lots of opportunity to think about tragedy. Listening to Mr. Young sing, I am just a dreamer, and you are just a dream. Freedom rings high in the hills. It does not sound like babies' cries, but an avalanche of love. It sounds like the mist whispering to the mountain, meet you later. Traveling with no one but Creator and the directions made possible by ancestors. Colonials divide the line in crisscross checker borders. Where did you say you come from again? I'm passing Sasquatch land, and I'm passing Big Brother blocking my view, and I'm passing the night without you, holding on to freedom, gathered from high on hills. The price is sacrifice and pain. I come from here, and nowhere does my heart beat stronger, faster, louder, out of sync with the rest, matching the wild pace of nature. This is normal.
Well, that's it from the Brickyard. Don't eat one of those by yourself, for starters. David Lennon for The Scene. You can watch this episode over and over again. Facebook.com/The Scene TV. That's Jose. He's stretching. Email us at thescenetv@shaw.ca. Thank you. Good night.
Now someone